TV soap news and spoilers say that on the sultry evening of May 28, 2025, the air at the exclusive Beyond the Gates club crackled with tension, secrets, and unspoken betrayals. The neon lights of the upscale venue cast an ethereal glow over the polished dance floor, where the elite of the city mingled, their laughter masking the undercurrents of drama that would soon erupt. Tonight was no ordinary night. It was a crucible of emotions, where friendships would fracture, relationships would teeter on the edge, and long-buried truths would claw their way to the surface. If you're ready to dive into the chaos that unfolded, buckle up. This is a tale of passion, deception, and confrontation that will leave you reeling. The club showdown, Martin versus Bill. The night began with a collision of egos and unresolved grudges at the heart of Beyond the Gates. Martin, a man known for his sharp tongue and sharper secrets, stormed into the club with a purpose. His eyes locked onto Bill, who stood at the bar with his radiant bride-to-be, Haley, her laughter ringing like a bell amidst the pulsing music. Bill, with his tailored suit and smug confidence, seemed untouchable, until Martin approached, his face a storm cloud of determination. Martin didn't waste time with pleasantries. "You think you can hide forever, Bill?" He spat, his voice cutting through the din of the crowd. Heads turned, and whispers rippled through the onlookers. Haley's smile faltered as she sensed the shift in the air. Martin's accusation hung heavy. He admitted to a past misdeed, a shadowy act he'd kept hidden from his husband, Smitty. The details remained vague, but the weight of his confession was unmistakable. "I did something bad back then," Martin said, his voice trembling with a mix of guilt and defiance. "But you're no saint either." Bill's face darkened, his jaw tightening as he stepped closer to Martin. "Remember your place," he growled, his tone laced with menace. "Watch your mouth, or you'll regret it." The words were a warning, a line drawn in the sand. But Martin wasn't backing down. He turned to Haley, his eyes blazing with reckless courage. "Your man," he said, pointing at Bill, "is a full-time scoundrel. You deserve to know the truth." Gasps echoed from the crowd. Haley's hand flew to her chest, her engagement ring glinting under the club's lights. She looked between Martin and Bill, searching for answers in their faces. Bill's fury was palpable, his fists clenched as if he might strike. But instead, he leaned in close to Martin, his voice a low, dangerous whisper. "You're playing a dangerous game, old friend. Keep pushing, and I'll make sure Smitty knows everything." The standoff ended as abruptly as it began, with Martin turning on his heel and disappearing into the crowd, leaving a stunned Haley and a seething Bill in his wake. The confrontation was more than a clash of personalities, it was a fuse lit on a powder keg of secrets. What had Martin done? And what did Bill know that could unravel Martin's carefully constructed life with Smitty? Tyrell's downfall. A heartbreak in the making. While the drama unfolded at the bar, another tragedy was brewing in a quieter corner of Beyond the Gates. Tyrell, the son of Martin and Smitty, was grappling with demons of his own. At 22, Tyrell was charming but fragile, his anxiety a constant shadow that threatened to engulf him. Tonight, he had brought his new girlfriend, Lila, to the club, a bold move for someone who struggled to let others in. Lila, with her warm smile and easy laugh, seemed like the perfect match to steady Tyrell's turbulent heart. But anxiety, that cruel saboteur, had other plans. As the night progressed, Tyrell's nerves began to fray. The crowded club, the thumping bass, the weight of his parents' drama, it was all too much. Lila tried to comfort him, her hand resting gently on his arm, but Tyrell's mind was spiraling. "I can't do this," he muttered, pulling away from her touch. Lila's brow furrowed with concern, but before she could respond, Tyrell's anxiety erupted into a full-blown panic. "You don't get it," he shouted, his voice cracking. "I'm not good enough for this, for you." Lila's eyes widened, hurt flashing across her face. She reached for him, but Tyrell was already retreating, his breath coming in shallow gasps. "I need space," he said, turning away and leaving Lila standing alone, her expression a mix of confusion and heartbreak. The moment was a gut punch, a relationship that had barely begun now teetering on the edge of collapse. Word of Tyrell's meltdown spread quickly, and it wasn't long before his older sister, Kiana, caught wind of it. Kiana, fiercely protective and never one to mince words, cornered Tyrell later that night. "You're an idiot," she said, her arms crossed and her tone sharp. "Lila's the best thing that's happened to you, and you're pushing her away because you're scared? Get it together, Tyrell." Her words stung, but they were rooted in love. Kiana knew her brother's struggles, but she also knew he couldn't keep running from happiness. Whether Tyrell would heed her advice remained to be seen, but the night had already claimed its first casualty, his fledgling romance. Smitty's growing suspicion back at the heart of the drama, Smitty, Martin's husband, was beginning to sense that something was amiss. A successful entrepreneur with a keen eye for deception, Smitty had always trusted Martin implicitly. But lately, Martin's late nights and evasive answers had planted seeds of doubt. The confrontation at Beyond the Gates only deepened Smitty's unease. He hadn't witnessed the showdown himself, but the whispers reached him quickly. Martin had called out Bill in front of everyone, hinting at secrets that could tear their world apart. Smitty's mind raced as he stood on the club's balcony, staring out at the city skyline. What was Martin hiding? And why was Bill, of all people, at the center of it? Smitty and Bill had a complicated history, a friendship that had once been unbreakable but had soured over time. If Martin's accusations were true, and Bill was indeed a scoundrel, what did that mean for Smitty's own marriage? The thought gnawed at him, a slow poison seeping into his trust. If Bill and Smitty were to cross paths again, the consequences could be explosive. Bill, still stinging from Martin's public attack, might be tempted to drop a truth bomb of his own. Would he reveal Martin's secret to Smitty, exposing whatever transgression Martin was so desperate to conceal? The possibility hung over the night like a storm cloud, threatening to unleash chaos on an already fractured group of friends. The pregnancy bombshell. Chelsea and Danny stir the pot as if the night needed more fuel for its fire. A shocking revelation was making its way through the grapevine. Chelsea, a close friend of Haley's, had caught wind of a life-changing secret. Haley was pregnant. The news was a bombshell, one that could either solidify Haley's bond with Bill or complicate their already tumultuous engagement. Chelsea, never one to sit on gossip, wasted no time sharing the news with Danny, Haley's fiercely loyal but hot-headed best friend. The conversation took place in a dimly lit corner of the club, where Chelsea leaned in close, her voice barely above a whisper. "Danny, you didn't hear this from me, but Haley's pregnant," she said, her eyes wide with the thrill of the secret. Danny's jaw dropped, her mind racing with questions. Was it Bill's? Why hadn't Haley told her? The betrayal stung, and Danny's temper flared. "She's got some explaining to do," Danny muttered, already plotting her next move. True to her impulsive nature, Danny didn't wait for an invitation. She left the club and drove straight to Haley's house, her heart pounding with a mix of anger and concern. When Haley opened the door, still dressed in her elegant outfit from the club, she was unprepared for the storm that was Danny. "You're pregnant, and you didn't tell me?" Danny demanded, her voice echoing through the quiet neighborhood. Haley's face paled, her hand instinctively moving to her stomach. "Who told you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Danny didn't hold back. "Chelsea. And I can't believe you kept this from me. What's going on, Haley? Is it Bill's? Are you okay?" The questions came fast, each one laced with worry and accusation. Haley's eyes filled with tears as she tried to explain. "I was going to tell you," she said, her voice breaking. "It's just, everything's so complicated right now." The confrontation ended with an uneasy truce, but the rift between the friends was far from healed. Haley's pregnancy, once a private joy, was now a public scandal, and the fallout was only beginning. Derek and Ashley, a domestic drama amid the high-stakes drama at Beyond the Gates. A quieter but no less intense conflict was unfolding between Derek and Ashley, the couple everyone loved to call boring. On the surface, their relationship was stable, predictable even. But beneath the calm exterior, tensions were simmering, fueled by Ashley's obsessive-compulsive disorder and Derek's frustratingly careless habits. The spark that ignited their latest argument was, of all things, a scratch on Ashley's pristine stainless steel refrigerator. To most, it was a minor blemish, barely noticeable. But to Ashley, whose OCD demanded order and perfection, it was a personal affront. "How could you be so careless?" she demanded, her voice rising as she pointed at the offending mark. Derek, exasperated, threw up his hands. "It's just a scratch, Ash. Why does it always have to be a big deal?" The argument spiraled, as their disagreements often did, into a rehashing of old wounds. Ashley accused Derek of dismissing her feelings, while Derek countered that her need for control was suffocating. The scratched refrigerator became a symbol of their deeper issues. Ashley's struggle to let go, and Derek's inability to understand the weight of her anxiety. By the end of the night, they were no closer to resolution, their voices hoarse from shouting and their hearts heavy with unspoken regrets. The aftermath, a night to remember as the clock struck midnight, Beyond the Gates was a battlefield of emotions. Martin's confrontation with Bill had exposed cracks in their circle of friends, threatening to bring long-hidden secrets to light. Tyrell's heartbreak had left him questioning his worth, while Kiana's tough love offered a glimmer of hope. Smitty's suspicions were growing, setting the stage for a potential reckoning with both Martin and Bill. Haley's pregnancy, now an open secret, had strained her friendships and cast doubt on her future with Bill. And Derek and Ashley, caught in their own domestic storm, were left wondering if their love could withstand the weight of their differences. The night of May 28, 2025, was more than just a series of arguments and revelations. It was a turning point, a moment when the masks people wore began to slip, revealing the raw, messy truth beneath. Beyond the Gates was no longer just a club, it was a crucible where relationships were tested, secrets were exposed, and lives were changed forever. As the city slept, the echoes of that night lingered, promising more drama, more heartbreak, and more truth in the days to come. What happens next? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the events of May 28 will ripple through this tight-knit community, leaving no one untouched. We hope you enjoyed it and look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe TV soap news and spoilers for more updates on Beyond the Gates.